you're live on Facebook now.
Right, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of Middlesbrough Council. As this is the first council meeting since lockdown began, I would like to ask you all to join me in a minute's silence in respect for all of the people that have lost their lives due to the coronavirus. Thank you very much for that. Right, we'll start the meeting. Apologies for absence.
From Councillor Sands, Chair.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? No? Right, we'll carry on with the Mayor's presentation. Mr. Mayor, over to you.
See strange circumstances in many, many ways, but here we deliberate act. I think that's for a presentation unusual. We're in a really unusual era, and COVID is a monstrous issue that's affected people's lives in terms of money, their job security, their health, obviously, and their expectations of the future. So this is a more serious issue for the whole world, for our globe, than any of us have seen before. Because of the serious nature, communication is really important. It's really important that myself and the Chief Exec and the Executive and every single person connected with Middlesbrough Council articulates what we're trying to do, how we're doing it, and whether we're successful. And something that I think we've all done very well is communicate. From day one, there's been a determined drive to share what's going on, to put out leaflets, to talk to the national media. I've spoken on national TV, on national radio many times, local TV, local radio. I speak to the exec. I've never ever given out so much stuff on social media. And I take calls from organisations like our police force, from people connected to health. I liaise with the public on a daily basis on a range of issues. And you know what? People like our chief have given briefings to all members of exactly what's happening, exactly what we're trying to do and why we're doing it. And there shouldn't be, and I don't, there's a single person on this call who actually doesn't know everything they want to. I don't a single person who can hand on heart say they've got a good reason for a sort of written overview of what we're doing, because they know what people are doing is they're playing politics. And now is not the era to play politics. Now is the era to work together, to work hard and get things done. I will continue to liaise with them. I'll continue to work with the police. I'll continue to do everything I can, and I will continue to be available to anybody who wants to talk to me. What I will not do is take in silly games that waste other people's time and push us backwards instead of forwards. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Mayor Preston. I take it from that you won't be taking any questions.
No, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. Right, the next item in the extraordinary council meeting is for members to rebate the current COVID-19 pandemic and its effects. So please, will you make this democratic? We don't want to see it being party political in any way. So is anybody who would like to start? If you send a message to Scott, I'm sure we can arrange for
Chair, can I just raise that I suggest at some point that you ask Councillor Story to outline the reasons for calling the extraordinary meeting before entering into a debate.
Okay, we'll do it first. Councillor Story, would you outline why you've called this extraordinary meeting, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chair. Before setting out the purpose of tonight's meeting, I'd like to say that I hope everyone here and people watching on YouTube are well, that your families are well, and that you've all been coping during lockdown. COVID-19 has fundamentally changed our everyday lives, whether through changes to our working practices, preventing us spending time with family or friends, or tragically causing some of our fellow citizens of Middlesbrough to lose their lives. As leader of the Labour group and on behalf of my colleagues, our hearts go out to all of you who've lost loved ones. I'm really proud of the heroic efforts of council staff who've supported businesses and vulnerable people in Middlesbrough during the pandemic, and we can all be tremendously proud to be members of Middlesbrough Council and give thanks to those council workers putting themselves in harm's way to deliver critical services to the people of Middlesbrough throughout the crisis. The importance of local councils and services and the work they do in our communities has never been more apparent, and it's our job as councillors to continue fighting for the funding and support we need from central government so that our phenomenal officers have the tools and powers to deliver world-class standards of service that Middlesbrough people deserve. Turning to tonight's meeting, this is the first time we've all had the chance to meet together as a council since the coronavirus outbreak struck the UK over 4 months ago. This is the first business meeting of the full council we've had since January. We've been told that the reason we cannot hold regular council meetings is the technology is not reliable enough. Yet across the country, across the North East, and in neighbouring authorities on Teesside, councils have held full council meetings. Hartlepool on the 10th of June, Stockton on 22nd of July, Redcar and Cleveland on the 9th of July, and Darlington on the 16th of July. Clearly, technology has been no barrier to their efforts to schedule council meetings, and it's Labour's contention that Middlesbrough should be no different. Our intention in calling this meeting is to secure a schedule of full council meetings for the coming year. Sadly, we have no confidence that without our intervention, the schedule of meetings would have been forthcoming, or at best, it would have been significantly delayed. Middlesbrough's Labour councillors are the only political group who have been consistently calling for the return of council meetings. They're a key way for local people to hear their elected representatives speaking up on behalf of their local representatives, speaking on behalf of residents, and they're a key method of challenge and questioning for the Mayor and the Executive by all councillors. It is that opportunity for all councillors to raise concerns and questions to the Mayor and the Executive which is critical to our proposition. The Overview and Scrutiny Board, thanks to the leadership of the Labour Chair Janet Thompson, with cross-party support, has held several meetings during lockdown. Those meetings are an excellent way for members to ask questions and gather information, but it is a panel of only 13 members. There are 46 councillors on Middlesbrough Council plus the Mayor. All members need the opportunity, particularly in light of the huge challenges posed by COVID-19, to ask questions on behalf of residents and to hear from the Mayor about how and why decisions are taken at the Council. There has never been a more important time for councillors to speak up and scrutinise the leadership of the Council. Full Council meetings deliver the opportunity to all of us to do the job that our residents sent us here to do. There is a growing concern expressed to me by members of all political parties, Labour, Conservative and Independent, that decisions are being taken in executive meetings often held behind closed doors with policy announced through the Mayor's personal Facebook page or council press release without councillors' knowledge. Too often, I get my information about what is happening at the Council from the press or unofficial sources. That is not acceptable. The Mayor and all councillors must be held accountable for their public statements and the decisions they take. Those decisions should be scrutinised thoroughly through the Council's democratic processes, and that is why we need a schedule of full Council meetings in place as we have set out in tonight's resolution. The Mayor talked during the election about the importance of openness and transparency. In order to live up to that, We must match our words with our actions. Tonight presents councillors with an opportunity to ask questions of the Mayor, to debate COVID-19 and its effects, and I hope that at the conclusion of tonight's meeting, in the interests of local democracy and on behalf of local people, we can secure sufficient support for our resolution that the council meetings are scheduled for the rest of the municipal year. I'd also like to say, in light of the Mayor's comments just now, the extraordinary meeting states that we would like the Mayor to answer questions from members in relation to COVID-19, and I would hope that he would see the value of that and answer members' questions as per the agenda item now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Story. Right, shall we move back now to the item that we skipped, where we're asking members to debate the current COVID-19 pandemic and its effects. Oh, please, once again, don't make it political. Let's make it democratic. Anybody like to start? Nobody.
Yes,
Very
Chair,
well.
I believe
Councillor Cooper would like to speak.
Up, Chair. I've got my hand
Sorry.
up.
What did you say, Scott?
Councillor Thompson, I've got my hand up. Can
Councillor Thompson.
I just make a point that is this live streamed? I'm being told that it's not live streamed.
No, it's live streamed, as far as I'm aware, Janet. As far as I know, it's live streamed.
I can confirm, Chair, that the stream's going out on YouTube. It's
Does it
working.
make a difference?
Thank you.
Does it make a difference, Councillor Thompson?
I'm just asking the question if it's going out live.
Yeah, it's live streamed.
Thank you.
Right, anybody else want to join in the debate?
Yes, Chair,
Nobody.
Councillor Arundale wishes to speak,
Councillor Arundale.
and then Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to add weight to the comments that's made about the staff and Middlesbrough Council and the excellent work they've done during this period of time, especially our Chief Executive. I've got to admit I haven't always got on with him, but in this occasion I think he's gone beyond what could be expected of anybody, and he's been absolutely excellent. So, well done all, and that's really all I have to say. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Arundale. Councillor Cooper?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say I agree with Councillor Story that we do need council meetings. However, I disagree about the technology, because we've already got one councillor missing due to technical issues. Whilst we've been talking, my screen's been going on and off, and it's locked me out at least once. And there's a lot of pictures that I can see, which total 25 out of, according to the screen, 57 people present. So we don't seem to have any members of the public. And I believe that democracy must include the general public. And I think the Labour Party should be coming together with the independents and asking for the town hall to be reopened. So that, yes, I know the chamber isn't big enough to a social distancing, but the crypt's big enough for us all to have little independent chairs, and the chair and the mayor could be up on the stage. The members of the public could be in the cafeteria area behind the glass screens. They could have a microphone so that when they've asked a question, they could speak to the council as we would do in the chamber. So yes, I agree in principle on what's been said, but I don't think the technology's up to it, and we should think again. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I just interject at this point? Just as a clarification, we're being streamed on Facebook, not on YouTube this evening for the council meeting.
Right. Okay, Janet? Right, anybody else want to join in the debate?
Yes, Chair, Councillor Mason wishes to speak, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Branson.
Councillor Mason?
Thank you, Chair. This is something I've wanted to say for a while, and this seems as good a place as any to go ahead and say it. At best, this council is viewed with indifference by the general public. At worst, it's viewed with utter contempt. We are often viewed as self-serving, incompetent, and unreliable. And this, to me, is very strange, because since my election back in February, I've seen much of the brilliant work which councillors in this chamber do daily, and sadly this is often overlooked. This, for me, raises a very important question. Why are we, as a chamber, viewed so negatively? I've asked residents over the past few weeks, and I get one clear answer pretty much every time, and that comes down to to political partisanship. Since being elected, I've seen councillors ambushed in meetings, I've seen attacks launched in the local press, and I've seen members try to political point score against each other frequently. This conduct is causing the council as a collective to be viewed very negatively, and it needs to stop. Given the current climate, it's now more important than ever that we work together collaboratively, constructively, to get the best for our town. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you sit on, or what party affiliations you may or may not have. I want the best for this town. That's why I entered politics, and I hope that's why most of you have too. So let's end the partisanship for the next few months to mitigate the threat which COVID-19 poses to our local businesses and communities. We will achieve far more for our local residents if we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rooney.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Question, because I understood that this was an opportunity to ask questions relating to COVID. So my question's around test, track and trace in Middlesbrough. The Middlehaven site's got the capacity to carry out 800 tests a day. This is supported by mobile sites across the town. So how many actual tests are being carried out in Middlesbrough? Where can we find this recorded? And of these, how many have resulted either in positive tests and how many have been advised to self-isolate? And following on from that, how will a local lockdown strategy work if we need to enact one? And that question was for the Mayor, because I understood that tonight we were able to ask questions about COVID to the Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rooney. I'm afraid I can't answer any of them, but we'll have to try and find out for you. So it'll have to come back. The answers will have to come back to you later. Councillor Branson.
Me?
Councillor Branson?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, Councillor Branson, go ahead.
Right, okay. My concern is about transport, and specifically about bus transport. I'd like to say, first of all, a great thanks to all those people working in public transport who have done a marvellous job of keeping the public transport system going over the last few weeks and months. However, we do have a serious problem here, which is backing up. You'll know before COVID happened, we're already, in terms of the buses, in specifically what I'm thinking about, that they were already losing business, that they were already reduced the number of routes that they were running. But COVID has really made things very difficult. For the first time ever, we've had the government telling people not to use public transport. And I can understand why, but what it's meant is a lot of people are now very worried about using public transport. And of course, the other issue is social distancing, because once social distancing comes in, the capacity of the buses is significantly reduced. You can't carry as many people on them, and yet bus companies have often worked on the basis of putting as many people on the bus as possible. And there is plenty of evidence that although car usage is now going back up again, as people start to go back to work, the number of people on the buses has not. And my concern is that when the government removes the subsidy for public transport, which it will do in the near future, then we're going to see a lot of bus routes being closed down. Now, we have a real problem here that a lot of people rely on buses to get to work. Cycling's great, and I'm a great cyclist myself, but I'm not sure that everybody's going to want to cycle in November and December when the weather gets very bad. We have to make sure that there is an adequate public transport system. What I think we are going to have to do is to look at the whole issue of franchising. I'm referring here to the Campaign for Better Transport report on COVID-19 recovery, and that is one of their recommendations. Local authorities should explore the need now to franchise or to have some tendering system to ensure that bus routes are maintained when the government subsidy is removed. Otherwise, we're going to see a lot of those routes disappear. Also, I think it's very important that we move to a system of non-cash payments, as many other shops and businesses have gone so, that we could pay by card. I know some buses are doing that. Stagecoach, I understand, are doing that. but I'm not sure that all operators are. Also, we need to have a system whereby one payment will secure you transport on all of the bus companies and ideally on the train company too. Unless we do that, there is a real danger and that in a few months' time, we're going to see a substantial reduction in bus services and people are then going to be compelled to use cars in order to get into Middlesbrough. And that's going to put back a lot of the successes we've made in trying to reduce congestion and in trying to reduce pollution. So what I'm really asking the council to do is to take this on board. Take it to the TVCA, who I know are the responsible body that deal with these transport issues, and ask them to sit down and look at what their long-term policies are for the organisation, particularly of buses, but of transport in general. Because I think if we don't do that, we're going to have a problem in a few months' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Branson. Can I just reiterate to members, if a member would like to ask a question, will you please press the hand icon next to your name? Technical officer will advise me of any members wishing to ask a question. But once you've done that, can you please remember to press the hand icon again to take the hand back down. If it appears that your name has been missed, please physically raise your hand and you will be invited to ask your question. Councillor Furness, you were next.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question regarding, obviously, the communications. It has been great. Everyone that I know of that has a contract with the council, it's been the council have followed through and they've been continuing to pay that, and the communications around obviously the coronavirus and the sort of severity of it and sort of how serious it is has been great. But just regarding the Neptune Centre, I think the way that slipped through and it was allowed to get to the executive in the report it was, and even be considered to be closed for a year, was really bad on the communication side. So my question is just about why was it allowed to get to that stage where it got to the executive and in the press? Because in the report itself, it states that it would cause redundancies and it would obviously the chance of the Neptune reopening at its full capacity after it was closed would be quite hard and the financial performance would be really hit. So my question is, could the Mayor or Dorothy Davison let us know, were they aware that that was in the report? And if so, why did they allow it to actually get to the executive and the press? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, I don't know which Walker it is. It says Councillor Walker.
Jeanette Walker, Chair.
Jeanette Walker. Jeanette Walker.
That's me, Chair. Thank you very much. My question is regarding the COVID, obviously. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening. Firstly, I would like to say I would imagine all councillors right across Middlesbrough are really pleased that the bulky waste service has actually resumed. And I appreciate it was put on hold during the COVID-19 pandemic, and quite rightly so. However, I am still disappointed that there is such a tier system for removal, and going from free, as long as you don't mind waiting for quite some time, to the premium service where you pay quite a sum and appears okay for those who can afford it. I am hoping that the incidences of fly tipping will be examined at some point, and reasons could be due to the new tier system of bulky waste removal. My question tonight is, I have a concern regarding the non-collection of mattresses due to health and safety. Surely these items are most unhealthy and should be cleared as soon as possible after 72 hours to ensure at least the mattresses should be free from infection, as this is the rule for fly tipping. And as we must, as a local authority, ensure our operatives receive the correct personal protective equipment to enable them to do the job safely. Can this please be addressed as soon as possible? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Councillor McTeague. Councillor
Your microphone
McTee.
is live now, Councillor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hallelujah. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Matt Story has said with regard to lack of communication. If we as councillors didn't buy the Gazette or didn't read it online, we wouldn't know what was going on. I'm often pulled up by residents saying, "What do you think about blah blah blah?" It was in the Gazette, and if I hadn't read the Gazette, I wouldn't have seen it. I think we have a press office, obviously, with quite a few people, and I think it's Angus who sends the press releases out. Could he not send us a copy of the press release at the same time, if not before? But if he can't send it before, surely he can send it at the same time. So at least we know what's going in the Gazette, so that we're prepared for questions from residents. Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cope.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, first of all, can I just echo what's been said? It's been fantastic. Can I also thank Democratic Services, because they've worked their socks off. You know, a lot of these meetings don't just happen, they happen because of the hard work of Democratic Services, and quite often there has to be 3 or 4 plus in a meeting. And they're there to make sure we have the meetings, we get democracy in action, if that's a good word. So I'd like to particularly thank them. Few points. You mentioned the technical side of it. Well, without going into too technical details, ADSL works on a ratio of about 20:1, i.e. if you've got 10 meg download speed, half a meg upload speed, and believe me, that's where a lot of the problems are. A lot of people now still can download okay, but the upload speed is quite frankly rubbish, and that's across the town as well. There's parts of the town which should have it, so that's something that needs to be addressed by whatever. Trying to find out about ADSL and the council is somewhat difficult. I think it's a good description. Mention waste thing. I particularly want to mention green waste, because we had our collection today and lots of people had to put lots and lots of bins and various other things out. So the sooner it can come back to the every 2 weeks rather than every month, I think would be a good thing, because people are just going to start dumping it, which absolutely would not encourage. I would hate that to happen. Other than that, I think the technical side has proved it can work, but I'm still not fully convinced that it is working. We've had some good meetings. They didn't work quite well at first, but they have been working a lot better. So if this is going to be the norm, I think we then need to look into the councillors that are still having the problems, because with democracy, we all need to be here. And as for the council response to COVID and putting it out there, yes, it has been out there. I would echo a little bit that perhaps it should be out more on the council website. We should know more about it, but it has been very hard, and I do appreciate what's happening. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Scott, can you hear me, Scott? Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Right, we've got 4 more to go. Councillors Higgins, Story, Waters and Garvey.
That's right, Chair.
After that, we'll call an end, okay?
Okay, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to ask the Mayor this question. I'm still going to ask it. The Mayor announced in June that Middlesbrough Council had purchased several thousand pinprick tests which can test for COVID-19 and whether somebody had previously had the virus. I did put my name forward to volunteer for this. I've never heard anything. And over a month later, we have not heard anything further about the tests. Could the Mayor confirm when the tests will be rolled out in Middlesbrough and how much it would cost? Because I know a lot of work went into sorting out the details of how it would work by quite a number of officers. Again, nothing happened. And that wasn't political, it was a question that would concern the residents of Middlesbrough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Councillor Story. Don't know which one.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my question was also for the Mayor. I will put it directly to the Mayor, and I will expect an answer. We'll see if an answer is forthcoming. In a BBC Radio 4 interview at 7 a.m. on the 6th of May, you categorically stated that parks would remain closed. By 2 p.m. on the same day, you had reversed your decision and reopened all parks in Middlesbrough. What scientific evidence or study was presented to you in the 7 hours that elapsed between the Radio 4 interview in the morning and the U-turn that same afternoon that changed your mind? And if there was no such evidence presented to you, on what basis were you making such critical judgments?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say a huge thank you to all our council staff, our workers, our officers, the teams that have been seconded and moved and just adapted to the role. So I think we just need to say a huge thank you to everyone that's kept Middlesbrough going through all this. It was just in response to Councillor Branson's suggestion with regards to franchising the buses. As I'm sure you're aware, I'm a member of the TVCA, and it is something that is being discussed at a regional level, as it's not something that would be feasible or viable for solely Middlesbrough to do. All our bus companies run across all of our neighbours, so it needs to be done as a Tees-wide effort, and it's something that I will take forward and I will push for and try and get some good answers for you.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Councillor Garvey.
Thanks, Chair. I want to second what people have said about the staff during COVID and during the lockdown. Council staff have been nothing but helpful, working from home. They have families. I know myself how difficult it is working from home, but they've been nothing but brilliant and supportive. So I'd just like to give them a big thank you. The second point I want to make is on communication. Keep hearing the same sort of things, same sort of questions being asked at full council. I rarely speak at full council because it does sort of start turning into a circus. And I do totally agree with what Councillor Mason said about stopping this political hoo-ha all the time, because it does get boring after a while. But when it comes to communication, both myself and Councillor Jones, if we want to know something, we go and ask and we find out. And I heard the Neptune being mentioned. On the night of the meeting, the first meeting, we knew everything that was going on because we asked. We didn't wait till full council to ask questions about the Neptune. We asked the right people the right questions. And that's what you do. If you want to know something, ask. Go looking for the information. It's always there. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. I did say we'd pull the plug on that, but Councillor Cook apparently has been waiting for some time. Sorry about that, Councillor Cook. Would you like to ask what you want to ask?
It's okay, I'll forgive you, Chair. It's just a statement, really. During this pandemic, we could not leave our communities to fend for themselves. Many teams have been out since the very beginning providing vital services. I would like to express our group's deep gratitude to every council worker, charity and community group who have served our communities in this challenging time. They've been an absolute credit to our town, and I've been humbled by their dedication and resilience.
Thank you very much. Right, we'll now move on to the next part of the agenda, which is the Labour Group requests a vote to take place for the implementation of 6 weekly schedule of full council meetings. But before we go into that, I'd just like to respond to the things that Councillor Story said originally. I'm totally sympathetic towards having council meetings, as this is a democratic process, and believe it or not, I like council meetings because I like the banter and I like to meet with the people again. Up to now, the system we have been using for other meetings, I don't believe was capable of delivering a connection for the number of people that would attend the full council meeting. I'm led to believe tonight there's 57 people here. We've been monitoring this system regularly, and most meetings have had faults. I've personally looked at 35 of them, and every one of them has had something wrong with it, every single one. I was hoping by this time, early August, like will be soon, we would be able to return to the council chamber to have our meetings. This, unfortunately, is not going to happen for some considerable time. However, I now feel it is time to try a virtual meeting for full council. I don't mean an extraordinary one. I mean a full one with questions for everybody that wants to ask questions. It's time to try a full one. And therefore, I've been having discussions for some time with Democratic Services as to how best we can approach this. I do have some dates, but they'll have to be verified by council. The dates I've got: September the 2nd, October the 14th, November the 25th, December the 16th, and January the 13th. Now, some of those might have to be changed on odd day either way, but we'll have to work that as we come to it. This will complete the council diary for this financial year, because we have three council meetings already booked in. So if everybody's agreeable, we'll now go to the vote. I shall ask the monitoring officer, Charlotte.
Chair, I didn't quite catch what the dates were. I do apologise for interrupting you.
Okay. September the 2nd, October the 14th, November the 25th, December the 16th, and January the 13th. But as I say, they may alter a day or so either way. And the other thing as well is, as David Cook tried to tell everybody, although he was a little bit technical in what he said, this system really runs on broadband. And broadband is usually used by members of the public when they've come home from work and they've had the tea to sit down, put the computer on, play with the kids, play games, do their own emails. So it may be that we might have to run some of those meetings on an afternoon. So I'll hand over again to Charlotte, our monitoring officer, and she will conduct the vote that the Labour group have requested.
Thank you,
Charlotte,
Chair.
you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair. So I will read all councillors' names out in turn, and if you could indicate, please, whether you are for the motion, against the motion, or whether you abstain, that would be helpful. Thank you. Okay, so to start with, Mayor Preston.
Yes, I agree with the proposed dates.
Thank you. Councillor Arundel.
Agree.
Councillor Bell.
Yes.
Councillor Branson.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree.
Yes, okay, thank you. Councillor Cook.
Agree.
Councillor Cooper.
Agree.
Councillor Coop.
Agree.
Councillor Davison. Councillor Davison, are you with us?
Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Dean. Councillor Dean, I think you spoke, but I didn't catch that. Your microphone's on mute.
Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Dodds.
Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Furness.
For.
Councillor Garvey.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Goodchild.
If you bear with me, Charlotte, I'll unmute you.
Okay.
You can speak now. Your microphone's open. Just to advise Charlotte, we've just temporarily lost June Goodchild for a second.
Okay. Well, we'll come back. We'll come back to her. Yeah. Councillor Halawi.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Higgins.
For.
Thank you. Councillor High.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hill.
For.
Councillor Chris Hobson.
For.
Thank you. Councillor John Hobson.
For.
Councillor Hubbard.
For.
Councillor Hussain.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Jones. We have Councillor Jones.
You say that again, please, Councillor Jones. Your microphone's open now. Don't touch anything. Your microphone's open now. You say it again.
Councillor Jones. Could you try again, Councillor Jones? I can see your mouth move, but we do really need to hear you.
I'll write it down.
Could you try unplugging your headset?
Would you like to come
I'll
back to Councillor Jones?
Scott, can you see if you can give her assistance, anybody? Councillor Lewis?
For.
Councillor Mason?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Morstan?
For.
Councillor McCabe?
For.
Thank you. Councillor McIntyre?
For.
Councillor McTighe? Councillor McTighe?
You can try again there, Councillor McTighe.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Nugent?
Your microphone's open now, Councillor Nugent.
For, Scott.
Thank you, Councillor Nugent. Councillor Platt?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Polano?
Never heard it.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Purvis?
Sorry, didn't hear you, mate.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Geraldine. Do you want to?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Athmel?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rooney?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rostron?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Saunders?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Smiles?
3.
Could you repeat that, please, Councillor Smiles? Sorry.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Story?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Philippa Story? Thank you. Councillor Janet Thompson?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Udding?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Jeanette Walker?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Walker?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Waters?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
For.
Councillor Wright?
For.
Thank you. So we just have.
I think it was Councillors Goodchild and Jones, I believe.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah.
If you want to try now, Councillor Jones.
For.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones.
If you bear with me, Charlotte, I'll try and get June on.
Okay.
June, if you want to vote now, please.
For. For.
Thank you. So I can confirm. Have we got everybody, Scott? Have we been through everything?
I think so, Charlotte, yes.
Okay. So that is then, I believe, 46 votes for, no votes against, and no abstentions. Chair. The motion is passed.
Right. Thank you very much, Charlotte. So what we've got now then is, if full council agree to those dates, we'll start doing full council meetings with this WebEx machine starting on September the 2nd. And with that, I think that's all the business that we have tonight. So,
Chair, excuse me, Chair, could I just interrupt and ask you to consider asking Councillor Story to sum up at the end of the meeting?
Very well, Councillor Story, would you like to sum up?
To intervene at this point, I believe Councillor Garvey wishes to speak before the end of the meeting.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Story, Councillor Garvey. Which one first? Councillor Garvey, you go first. Then Matthew can sum up.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to say that obviously the vote was unanimous, and it goes back to communication. This extraordinary meeting did not need to be called if people had just done their homework. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Garvey. Councillor Story, would you like to sum up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I'd just like to take issue with what Councillor Garvey just said. It was absolutely essential that we called this meeting, because in private conversations and in discussions with members on all sides of the chamber, it was made abundantly clear to us that we were the only political group calling for full council meetings to be up and running again. So we've proved tonight that the value of this meeting being called by the Labour group with a unanimous cross-party vote to set council meetings for the year has been successful, and I'd like to thank everybody for voting in favour of the motion and getting this up and running. I'd like to state, based on a few of the things that people have said tonight, I'm very disappointed in the fact that the mayor point blank refused to take questions. He was elected saying he would be the most open and transparent mayor ever, and he's refused to take questions. Ray Mallon or Dave Budd, when I worked here as a member here, they would have always taken questions when asked. And I think it's a real shame that the questions that have been put to him, he hasn't answered. I think it's also a shame that straight out of the gate, we see the mayor being aggressive and refusing to take questions. We need to be accountable, and the mayor needs to be accountable. And I think it's unfortunate that he's chosen to take that stance immediately at the start of tonight's meeting. I think in terms of communications, we've heard tonight that we should go looking for information. As elected members, we have a right to information in our own wards. Councillor Garvey himself stated when the Neptune Centre decision was made public that he had no idea that was happening. And he stated about how angry he was about that decision, and quite rightly so. But we shouldn't have to go searching for information. It should be provided to us, and there should be a clear and formal decision-making process that we can all engage with and understand. And I think currently we are lacking in that respect. The other thing I'd like to reference is Councillor Mason's comments about how we are seen as incompetent, self-serving and unreliable, and that politics is a bad thing. I must admit, I have to keep stressing this. I have very good relationships with members across this chamber in different political parties. And if you go to most of our scrutiny panels and you listen to the questions that are asked and the comments that are made, they are constructive, they're challenging, but they're not partisan, they're not party political. And it is about trying to refine our decision-making process and get the best decision for the people of Middlesbrough. The best way to do that is to have a variety of different opinions, to hear from different points of view, and for those things to be taken into account when the council is coming to its decisions. We do a disservice to the people of Middlesbrough if we don't raise concerns or issues, or even disagree where necessary. When we do disagree with other members, we must do that, because it means that we get better decisions and better policy made. If we all just try and get along and agree all the time, we don't get the best decisions. Sometimes things need challenging. Sometimes questions, hard questions, need to be asked, and we shouldn't run away from that. I also would like to just point out that this anti-politics attitude of a lot of councillors in this chamber is incredibly dangerous. It's the easiest thing in the world to attack politicians. We are not a very popular class of people. I'm not afraid to say that. The fact is, every time you do that, every time you challenge our motivation in the public domain, you fundamentally undermine democracy. And in that way, you mean that people have an excuse to disengage from politics, to disengage from voting. It is easy to attack politicians, but we shouldn't do it, because it damages our reputation, not just my reputation or Councillor Mason's reputation, but all of our reputations. And it means that politics as a whole takes a hit. We are all here and that is a tremendously important thing. We do that for the good of the residents in our wards and for the good of the people of Middlesbrough. And we should not run away from the fact that we were elected on a prospectus of our own, whether it was Conservative or Labour or even Independent. So our fellow politicians, because the words we use and the way we undermine each other in that way by saying that we are self-serving or incompetent is actually tremendously damaging right across the board. And we just need to be really careful when we use that kind of language. I'm really pleased that tonight's gone the way it has. I'm very pleased that local democracy will be back up and running in Middlesbrough in September, thanks to the Labour group and thanks to our motion tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody for voting in favour of it. And thank you for attending tonight. Thanks, Chair.
Point out one slight error in your summing up. It wasn't the Labour Party weren't the only people that wanted council meetings. There were plenty of others from other parties who have been to me and said, John, can you do something? Right, I've got a message on. No, I haven't. That's the end of it. Right. Okay. I'll call this meeting to a close. Thank you very much for your attendance. And we'll probably see you.
Councillor McTeague needs to speak, I think.
Councillor McTeague.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I'd like to echo what Councillor Storey has said. It's common knowledge that I've had many a ding-dong with the Labour group and many a ding-dong with Ray Mallon. However, at the end of the day, he would always answer an email, or would always see you. Even if he didn't disagree with you, he would always answer an email. And as far as Councillor Storey is concerned, I think he's the best Labour leader. I've been here 16 years, and he's the best Labour leader that they've ever had. And I work with him quite a bit behind the scenes. And as far as Councillor Garvey's comment is concerned, I'm afraid he's got it wrong. It's the other way around. We don't have to go seeking information from senior members of the council. We should be given that information without having to ask for it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, with that, we'll pull the meeting to a close. Thank you very much for your attendance. We'll see you all on September the 13th, as long as the council will agree to these meetings. So thank you very much. Meeting over. Good night.
Good night, Chair. Thank you.